Hi, I'm Sandra Villata from the University of Connecticut, and today I present you a work in collaboration with Villata Tabor and John Sprouse, a Bayesian estimation of the gradients of island effects with complex average phrases. So let me first give you the short tour of this presentation. So this presentation is about gradient effects in core syntactic phenomena, islands. Islands are syntactic domains that prevent the extraction of elements out of them, and they come in two flavors, strong and weak islands. The strong-weak island distinction has been traditionally treated as categorical. Strong islands were claimed to prevent all extractions, while weak islands were claimed to allow some of them. However, recent acceptability judgment experiments provide some preliminary indication of gradients, showing that island violation seems to have different effect sizes. Here we expand this investigation into gradient effects in a series of high-powered acceptability judgment experiments where we test several island types and we use Bayesian regression modeling. Overall, results show clear indication of gradients, thus indicating the need of a theory of gradients for syntactic phenomena. Okay, so if you want to hear more, then stay with me for the long tour. Long-distance dependencies can be arbitrarily long. We can increase the distance between the filler, what, and its gap, that is indicated by an underscore, as much as we want, without undermining the grammaticality of the sentence. However, long-distance dependencies cannot occur across certain structures known as islands. And here we have three examples of islands: weather, noun complement, and adjunct islands. So islands have been claimed to come in two flavors, strong and weak islands. Strong islands prevent the extraction of both simple WH words, like what, and de-linked complex WH phrases, like which book. So here we have an example of an adjunct island, and as you can see, both the extraction of what and the extraction of which book is disallowed, so the result is always ungrammatical. Weak islands, on the other hand, have been claimed to prevent the extraction of simple WH words, but allow the extraction of de-linked complex WH phrases, the so-called de-linking effect. So here we have an example from weather islands, and as you can see, we can extract a complex WH phrase, which book. So the result has been claimed to be fully grammatical, while we cannot extract a simple WH words from a weather island. So as traditionally stated, the strong-weak island distinction is fully categorical. The island effect is either present and the sentence is therefore grammatical, or absent and the sentence is ungrammatical. However, recent acceptability judgment studies provided some preliminary indication of gradients. So the island effect was reduced but not eliminated when a complex WH phrase was extracted from a weak island. So these studies basically show that the effect size of island violation can vary. And this is intriguing because under classical grammatical approaches, there are no degrees of ungrammaticality. A sentence is either grammatical or ungrammatical. There is nothing in between. So the question that we are going to ask today is, does delinking in fact categorically ameliorate weak island effects, or does it partially ameliorate them? To say it differently, is the strong-weak island distinction a categorical distinction or a gradient distinction? And ultimately, this study actually probes the nature of linguistic representations themselves and ask if these are categorical or gradient. So we probe this question by introducing three major novelties as compared to previous studies. We augmented the sample size. We tested about 200 participants per experiment. We expanded the island types tested, currently 5, but more in the near future. And we provided credible estimates of the effect size for strong and weak island using Bayesian modeling. So the first thing that we need is a way to quantify the island effect. So there is a very nice trend of research initiated by John Sprouse that attempts to empirically quantify the island violation effect from the effect of two factors that are known to independently lower acceptability judgment ratings, namely the dependency length. Having a long dependency is worse in terms of acceptability ratings than having a short dependency, and the structure type, the fact of having an island structure that is worse than not having it. So when we cross these two factors together, we get the full 2x2 design. And the fourth condition is the actual island violation, where we have a long extraction and an island structure. So on this view, the island effect is defined as a statistical interaction between the effect of processing a long dependency and the effect of processing an island structure. So in other words, the island effect is the extra decrease in acceptability ratings above and beyond the decrease in acceptability due to the fact of having a long dependency and an island structure. So we tested 5 island types that form a nice mix of strong and weak islands. We tested whether and if islands that are traditionally claimed to be weak islands, and because adjunct islands that are traditionally claimed to be strong. And then we tested 2 types of noun complement islands, make the claim and believe the claim. So noun complement islands have a mixed behavior. Sometimes they are considered weak, sometimes they are considered strong. So this is why we tested 2 types of them, to see if there is something about the materials that can explain this behavior. And for each island, we tested 2 dependency types, simple and complex WH phrases, for a total of 10 acceptability judgment experiments. So we used the factorial design. We also tested the dependency type, simple and complex WH, between participants. We tested about 200 US English speakers per experiment recruited on cloud research. We used a 7-point Likert scale, and the experiments were all programmed in Qualtrics. So I will skip the materials, but feel free to stop this video if you want to take a look at them. So let's look at the results instead. So these are the basic interaction plots. Here you have the 5 island types that we tested, and here we have simple WH words and complex WH phrases. On the y-axis, you have the mean z-scores judgments. So first, there is an island effect that is an interaction for all island types. And also, there is no indication of a categorical elimination of the island effect for any of the islands. So delinking never eliminates the island effect, but it looks to reduce it in some cases. And indeed, this is the case for whether islands, if islands, noun complement the believe the claim and noun complement make the claim island. So for these 4 island types, we have a reduced island effect when we have a complex WH phrase as compared to when we have a simple WH word. So now let's look at the posterior distribution. So just a word about how to read these plots first. So here we are plotting the probability distribution of the island effect, so the interaction term that we just saw. So the area under the curve shows the possible values for the island effect for each island and dependency type. And the black lines at the bottom of the distribution shows the 95% most credible values for the island effect. So first, again, there is an island effect across the board because no distribution overlaps 0, and here 0 means absence of the island effect. Second, for whether if and noun complement make the claim islands, we have a clear delinking effect because the 2 distributions do not overlap at all. In particular, the 95% credible intervals do not overlap. And the complex WH condition is closer to the 0 as compared to the simple WH condition for these 3 island types, meaning that the island effect is actually weaker for this condition as compared to this other condition. And for noun complement the believe the claim islands, we still have a reduction of the island effect when we have a complex WH phrase, but there is a slight overlap of the 95% credible intervals of the two distributions. So the delinking effect is probably there, but it's weaker as compared to the make the claim island. And lastly, we observe the opposite effect for adjunct islands. Here we have that complex WH phrases generate a stronger island effect instead of a reduced one. So it's a reverse delinking effect somehow. Okay, so results from 10 high-power acceptability judgment studies provide evidence that island effects are gradient. They are not either present or absent, but they manifest with different strengths. Whether if and noun complement islands also indication of a reduced island effect with complex WH phrases, the delinking effect. And the pattern of results for whether and if islands is fully comparable, and this has interesting theoretical consequences given that whether and if have been claimed to occupy different syntactic positions, respectively a specifier and a head position. And since island effects are triggered by specifier-like elements, the island effects observed for if islands suggest that either the syntactic position of if must be rethought, or that something else is responsible for the island effect that we observe, maybe some spec head agreement configuration. Both noun complement islands show an island effect and a delinking effect. However, the delinking effect is stronger for make the claim than for believe the claim. And although the fact that both islands show an island effect contradicts the traditional claim that make the claim is not an island for movement, the stronger delinking effect for make the claim actually confirms that there is something special about this island type. And adjunct islands show a reverse delinking effect. So this finding is unexpected and not predicted by any existing theory. So we are currently replicating this experiment with new materials to investigate whether the effect may have been caused by something about the materials. So all in all, our results clearly show that island effects are gradient. Therefore, we need a theory able to account for that. And there are two possibilities about the source of gradients. First, gradient effects may derive from extra grammatical factors that act upon a categorical rule-based grammar. And on this view, whichever factor is responsible for the partial amelioration of delinking, this must be an extra grammatical factor. And second, gradient effects may derive from a gradient grammar. On this view, the grammatical system is actually more flexible and allows for different effect sizes for different violations, along the lines suggested by Villata and Tabor with the self-organized sentence processing grammar-derived model. So thank you for your attention, and if you have questions or if you want to discuss more with us, please reach out to us by email at sandra.villata@ucon.it.